All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hi, Geeta. Good to hear you again.
Yes, good to see you again. Just within a day or two. It's a lucky day.
Thank you, thank you. Great. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. And then maybe some more people will trickle in. But today, excited to talk to you about using Flint for exam prep. And today's session, I also wanted to focus both on like the teacher side of Flint and also the student side of Flint and how we can encourage students to like independent use Flint, but also productively. Yeah. Oh, and you'll also see that our slides have been rebranded a bit in case anyone hasn't seen the rebranding announcement, but we also have a new look to Flint. So yeah, that's very exciting as well. But yeah, so as always, I'll start off with some icebreaking news. The one for today is pretty quick and sweet. And then after that, I'll dive into exam prep activities. So more of how, as teachers, you all can help students to prep for exams and how to create those sorts of activities. And then afterwards, I have this entire part dedicated to student creation. So how students can use chats and activities for review on their own and really useful to personalize their learning experience. And then finally, I'll have some time for share out and feedback. As always, the recording will be available later and questions are welcome at any time. Feel free to just interrupt me or there's something in the chat if you have any questions. So to start off with the icebreaking news, I saw yesterday basically that India has now mandated an AI curriculum in schools starting from grade 3, which I think is really exciting. I know a lot of schools have been kind of hesitant about the younger students AI and like what that should look like and how we should integrate AI into those younger grades. But I think this is actually really cool because it is reflective of how a good handful, maybe more than a handful, of Flint schools are using Flint. Yeah, a lot of the schools that we see who are trying to like integrate AI across the school have been starting from grade 3. So this is really interesting. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on this. I think the news was like very basic, basically just saying that yeah, AI curriculum will be made from class 3 starting next school year, and it's among the earliest countries to be introducing AI at a primary level, and the Department of Education there is planning extensive teacher training for their 10 million plus teachers, and the curriculum development is being led by IIT Madras. Yeah, and the resource materials for those should be completed December, so next month. So maybe we'll see next month what sorts of resources they're putting out there. Yeah, any thoughts on this that anyone wants to share with the group? Awesome. Okay, yeah, so yeah, I feel like this piece of news is pretty straightforward. I just thought it was very, you know, schools are starting to look at how they can integrate AI into even younger years. But yeah, we can move on to the exam prep activity section. So how you can create prep activities for your students. Yeah, and just as a recap, for anyone who's new here, Flint can do a lot. These are just some of the things that I've listed that relate to review and revision. So, you know, generating problem-solving practice in the format of different questions, seeing students work on a whiteboard. Students can like paste in images or their work and notate on it and continue to ask follow-up questions to the AI. And then Flint can also create differentiated practice for students, whether that differentiation is coming on your end or from the student's end or just organically as students continue to work through Flint. I'll show some examples of or give some suggestions of how to do that later on. And then also Flint can act as an oral speaking practice partner and evaluator. We'll create an example of that as well, and also give students feedback on writing. Yeah, and all of this can be done alongside any uploads that you add to Flint. So whether it's, a rubric that you might add or a set of guidelines on how a test or evaluation should be structured. You can also upload the content that you want students to be practicing and be to make sure that they understand. So yeah, there's a lot on the upload side that you can do to curate what knowledge it is that Flint is working off of. Okay, and with that, we can jump into the platform and look at how to do this. So this is Flint for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. At the top here are chats. These are the one-off conversations that you can have with AI where it's helping you as basically a teaching assistant, and it's more in the generative form of things. But if you scroll down here, we're going to use the create an activity section so that we can actually create a AI chatbot slash AI activity experience for students that will help them to review. So I'm actually going to select this shortcut that we call it. So this like preset prompt here. But of course you can always create your custom prompt. It's pretty easy. They're almost the same experience, I would say. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and click this give problem solving practice one. And then from here, Flint is going to start asking me questions about what it is that it needs to know in order to make this a successful activity for the students. So that's kind of the perk of choosing one of the preset ones. It will let you know what it is that you need to give it. I'm just going to go ahead and say, act like a private tutor and guide my pre-algebra students through these problems. They are prepping for their semester final exam. And these problems are ones that are coming from this older final exam. So yeah, I'm essentially giving it some of the older questions and asking it to work through it with the students. And I'll send that off. And then Flint will be able to interact with or be able to read that document and start crafting that activity for me. And actually what I did over here was, yeah, here's one where it's already answered that piece because I wanted to also show you all what the session preview would look like. So actually between these two, after I created this, I chose to start a session manually on this right-hand side. You can also simulate a session where it automatically goes through the back and forth and plays both Flint's part and the student's part, and really quickly can give you a view of like what this conversation might look like. But it might be taking a second to load. But yeah, in this example, I've gone through the manual preview and have been answering some of the questions on my own. And, like Flint isn't always perfect. So this first problem was actually, it changed the numbers around a little bit, even though the concept was still the same. So I said, that's not the first problem. It was able to fix that. So in my head, like as I'm reviewing this activity, I'll want to go back in and tell it to make sure that it's offering the exact problem as the practice test that I've uploaded. Yeah, and then here's like an example of when I get it wrong, how it's going to help me. And then finally, when I get it right, it's not just letting me get it right, but it's also asking me to explain why, which I thought was really good. Yeah. So, yeah, so far that looks decent, but I did want to add, like I said, this message. Oh, not that message. This message for it to double check that the questions that it's giving students are correct. Oh yeah, while it's generating, I can respond to this question from Geeta. She's asking, if I want to see the prompt which I originally put in, how do I do it? Yeah, let me show you with an example here. If it's an older activity, we didn't track the prompts for it until I think like early this semester. So if you have an activity from like last year, it might not have the prompt saved. But for a little bit now, we've been tracking the back and forth conversation that you've been having in the activity settings. So if you go to your Flint overview page and then click on activity settings, and this has to be for like the original activity, not a duplicate of the activity. But if you click there, you should be able to see the back and forth that you've been having with Flint to create that. Yeah, good question, good question. Great. So yeah, I've told it to double check that it's giving the students the exact questions. So yeah, it's updated the guidelines to do that. And then I'm also going to ask it to make questions harder as students get them right. If they get a question wrong, ask them to do another similar question. So this is kind of like an example of how you could differentiate on the spot. You know, if some students are breezing through certain questions, but other students are struggling, you can make it so that those students who might be struggling with specific topics get additional practice on those topics. Yeah, and then from here you can also, maybe I'll ask it just verbally, can you also add a 0 to 100 grading rubric? Kind of gives a gist of what it might be, what their final grade might be from this. Yeah, and then Geeta's asking again about the sessions. Once I share it, can students do it anytime? Yes, yeah. So for any activities that you're sharing, by default, students can enter at any time and use it as many times as they want. So, you know, you could use it in class, but then you can say, if you want more practice at home, feel free to go back to this link and do it again. If there are ways to limit that, sorry, to limit that influence as well, you can set like a time during which the activity is available, or you can pause the activity after class. But by default, those things are not switched on. So yeah, any activity that you create just as a baseline will be accessible to students anytime. Yeah, so now it's created this grading rubric here, and on the simulation side, I can then like simulate different levels of student interaction with this activity and kind of see like how it's supporting both the high achieving students and the students who are struggling a lot. Any questions about activity creation here for this example? I do have a second example also. Awesome. Cool. So for this other example, I won't walk you all through all of it per se, but I created this interpersonal speaking practice activity. Let me pause that just so it doesn't start talking at me. To kind of mimic like how different like oral exams might play out. Oh yeah, Jitender, do you have a question though?
So when we are creating activity here, can the GDC be used on Flint for press to test mode? Can you use the GDC activities for press to test mode to give exam preparation to the students?
Oh.
Because the requirement is that the calculator which they use should be in a press to test mode. Whereas when I see the calculator which is inbuilt here, it allows many functions which is not allowed by IB. Or rather, if we talk about MYP or IGCSE, it's not allowed.
I see. Yeah, the calculator has like too many functions in it. And some of them are not. Oh, okay.
Just to make clear, press to test mode is basically a restriction from IB on certain applications what a graphic display calculator can be used by the students.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, our calculator only has one mode so far, unfortunately. So yeah, that might not be possible at this moment. But
yeah, so in this case, when we are talking about exam prep for students, our idea is actually to train students for both the papers, whether it is paper 1, 2, or 3, maybe any, to to use calculators. So that was a big challenge when I was preparing an activity for my students, which doesn't allow the calculator did not allow me to have the option of choosing or maybe not enabling certain ones. That was a big problem when I was using it.
I see. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Thank you for the feedback. That's really helpful for our team to know. Yeah, I'll bring that back to the engineers and see if there's like something that we can build there.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much also. Yeah, again, yeah, also if anyone has other feedback for Flint, I will gladly take that in the session as well. But yeah, I guess for this language practice activity, just wanted to share with you all like the background of how I created that here. So yeah, I chose the option for Flint to speak a world language with the students. And then I uploaded the AP Spanish Lang and Culture student response and scoring notes. So yeah, any sort of guidelines on how students will be evaluated and what the format of the exam will look like is really helpful to upload for these sorts of activities. And then it said, perfect, I'll create this interpersonal speaking simulation based on the AP format. Yeah, and then it gives you all of those details of how it set that up. And then, yeah, I continue to give it some prompts of like, provide students with the prompt using an attachment so that they can still read it. Because it set it as like speaking only. So basically Flint would speak to students and then students would speak back, but they can't see any of the text because the purpose is like the oral examination. So here in this initial message, in order to like give them the instructions written down, I just asked it to do that as a document. And then, yeah, but even though it has this, the rest of it would be like speaking only practice. And then I also said, just to give it some variety, like for the topic not to be so set, and then also so that students could come back to this activity and do it again and again, I said, give students a couple topics to choose from and then generate the prompt based on the topic chosen. So it said, yeah, it's going to give them 4 options: party planning, travel, school issues, or giving advice. And then students can choose between those. And then one thing also to know for, that is a limitation right now for these sorts of exam prep activities is that Flint can't like time the students in a way per the response. So I just asked it to remind students that they need to time themselves because Flint can't track their individual response durations. Yeah. Yeah, cool, awesome. And then I asked it to like update all of that in the document as well so that the students can see that. But yeah, and then the way that students could use this is going in, they have that oral conversation with Flint and just get more and more practice with that. Since, there's only so many hours in the classroom time. And then once they go home, they might not have like a speaking partner to practice with. So we've seen this be a really popular use case with the world language teachers. Great, okay. Yeah, any questions about that example? Thanks, Geeta. Okay, awesome. Great. So just to summarize, some tips for activity creation and some ideas for prompting activities. Make sure you preview it and iterate on it. I think it's kind of hard to know like how much context you should give Flint. I mean, I still experience this even though I make activities basically every day. But it's hard to remember like what sort of content is something that I just have in my head that Flint might not know about. So sometimes you can even ask it like, what am I missing here? What more can I add here? And Flint will guide you through that. Yeah, and then of course, always provide examples and content when you can. And I would also highlight that simulating it with the automatic simulation and with the manual simulation usually gives the best idea of how things will play out for you. Yeah, and then here's some like ideas for prompts that could make activities more interesting. We used this one earlier, making questions harder as students get them right. But you can also or I guess it was a combination of the first two. But yeah, if students struggle with the topic, ask them 2 more questions about that topic. Or you can always ask students to continue to try to get the answer and, not let Flint move on until they have the right answer there. Yes, okay, awesome. So now I wanted to talk about the student creation side of things. So how students can create tests and activities for review on their own. And yeah, the first part here, just kind of wanted to break down what the different options here are. So, of course, students can use the activities that you create. I would say this is best, teacher-made activities are best when, review requires very specific guidance. You probably have a lot more knowledge on like how the test is structured and what the different exams are looking to evaluate. So that's why sometimes it might be best for you to set up the activities for the students. But of course, in order to offer students additional support, chats and activities are also available to students in the platform. And I think a lot of students don't know about this yet, but the ones who have discovered it have been really using that to their benefit. So yeah, the chats are best for those one-off queries that don't require much context or creation of materials. And I have an example here. So actually, not sure if people know this yet, but also on top of all of that, Flint will respond to teachers versus students pretty differently. So here's an example of a teacher session. You know, Sparky greets me. I put in this equation and I said, can you help me solve this? And then Flint is immediately very helpful and it's helping me solve this because I'm a teacher. So it's even giving me all of the step-by-step and why the other options are incorrect also. But from the student perspective, this is one with a student account that I did. Same prompt that I put in, but it says like, it just guides me through the thinking process rather than having all of the answers just laid out for me. And it's even asking me targeted questions about this specific problem. Like, can you explain this exponent structure? And like, what sort of rule allows you to simplify this sort of expression? Yeah, so it gave me the steps, but not like the actual answer, and it's asking me to work through it myself. So yeah, for those like sorts of one-off questions, if students are using chats with their student accounts, they can get a lot of guidance from Flint off the bat. But of course, also students can make their own activities. On the right here is actually a student-made activity for English language FRQ practice. Yeah, and it's actually our most popular activity in the activity library. So that was really exciting to see and to see how students are leveraging this and not only helping themselves, but also their peers and peers at other schools as well. Yeah, so if they want that sort of recurring practice or they want Sparky to reflect a specific type of persona, like a SAT versus ACT versus AP versus IB tutor, that would be like using an activity would make that the easiest. Great. Yeah, and I know in the registration, a lot of people were asking about SAT and ACT specifically. So I put some links here. If they're helpful to you all, you'll get the slides at the end of the session. So these are some of the ones that our team created, but of course you can always use those and make your own or make variations of them. And just to show you all where these are held in the platform, actually, let me go back to the homepage here. And then if you click on Public Library in the bottom left, this is where you can see a bunch of the different activities that have been created by various Flint users, whether that be teachers or students or our team. And yeah, that's like a great place where students or teachers can get activities off the bat that can help them with specific things. For example, if I'm asking for like biology activities specifically, I can look at what it has there. And then even if like nothing here is like directly fitting what it is that I need, I might find inspiration for how I could set up an activity that would work in that way. Yeah, Geeta's asking, is it available in the public library? Do you mean the ACT and SAT examples that I just showed?
All the resources prepared by the team, if it is on the public library, it would be helpful for the teachers, but I don't think all of them are there, right?
We post
think-
a lot of things, but not everything, I guess. Not all of the activities that I've made in these sessions.
But why not? Because it's going to be very useful to everybody. Whoever wants, they can pick it up and use it. I think it's a good idea for you to put everything on the thing. So please,
Yeah. Okay.
a suggestion here. So please.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right.
Um,
We always look forward as teachers. We always look forward to the prompts prepared by the team because you have an expert team there, and we can always modify it according to how we need it. So we can. That's fine.
yeah, that makes sense. Better to provide more resources than less.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, and then we have another question. Can Flint provide solution explanations similar to the IB mark scheme so that students understand well when reviewing? Yeah, for sure. So when the students, or when you're setting up the activity, I would just give it that additional context on how the IB mark scheme looks. Whether it's like uploading an example or like the guidelines maybe from the IB website, that would be really good so that students will get that feedback. Yeah. Oh, and I did want to demonstrate a student made activity flow. So this is how you could maybe like show your students how to create an activity in Flint. And actually, I started from a chat here because I also wanted to demonstrate how you can go from chat to activity. But here, I basically, as a student in this account, selected the option for help me make a study guide. That's visible. If I go back to home, it's, oh wait, sorry, this is a teacher account right now, but this was a chat from a student. Oh wait, actually I can show you still. From the student side, we have this option to make a study guide for the students. And yeah, that way Flint can help them break down what it is that they need to study for a specific exam. Yeah, so it says, yeah, happy to do that. What subject or topic is it for? What content should it cover? Format, any material to work from. So I said, can you make a study guide for all the AP World History topics? I need help prepping for the multiple choice. And then I just put in screenshots from the website about these specific topics. I use the screenshots because the website had these drop downs, and if it's a drop down, Flint might not be able to read it as well. Depends on how they've coded the website in the back end. So I just put in the screenshots just to be safe. Yeah, and then I would say, like, as you're guiding students in creating their own materials, of course, like, tell them to upload additional resources and tell them to tell Flint what exactly it is that they need help with. And that will always turn out better for them. So yeah, so Flint is saying like, hey, this is a huge amount of content. To make this more effective, it's giving more guidance on like good study habits almost. So like, which units do I need to focus on? What timeline do I have? What format will help most? And all of that information. So I gave it some of the specific units that I was struggling with most. And then said like, I have a couple weeks of time, but I think the best combination of strategies are these three. And then it was able to put together this kind of giant study guide for me with a lot of content about each unit and everything. And so with all of this, if I just read through this, this would be very passive learning. But so Flint actually also suggests some study techniques here that would make it so that I can more easily interact with this activity or interact with this content through an activity. And actually, give me 1 second. Oh, sorry. I think I was sharing the wrong tab this whole time. Yeah. Here, I made a study guide. I put in the content and told it that I needed help prepping with multiple choice. And then it gave me all of that additional background and guidance on like how to best study and narrow down this giant task. And then it created this study guide for me and gave me some techniques on how to better use this over the course of the next semesters and all that. And then one sec, let me reshare with the student view so that we can make some edits to it. I just need to switch my account here. Thank you for your patience. All right, we're back, and now I can type messages in here and everything. So yeah, now it's given me the study guide. It's given me tech. Oh, I don't know why that started playing all of a sudden. Yeah, okay. So something that I'm going to ask Flint in this chat is, what are some options for Flint activities that could help me study these? Since Flint knows about itself, it knows most of its capabilities, I can just ask directly, like, what do you think would be good in this sort of scenario? So it's creating a bunch of options here, like a practice quiz, cause and effect practice, timeline challenge, compare and contrast, term definition, historical scenario analysis. Yeah, and it's even saying like, hey, you can check the public library for something like this, or your workspace library, your school library, or you can even create your own and customize the activities to focus exactly on what you need. And actually, I'm going to tell it like, maybe it can help me create one.
இதுல பார்க்க முடியாத அப்புறம் ரெக்கார்டிங் ஷேர் பண்ணுவா இல்ல இதெல்லாம் ஷேர் பண்ணிப்போம்.
We can maybe ask it to create the guidelines for this just in the chat. So let's say like, I really like the ideas in number 2 and 3. And then let's see if it will elaborate on that. So asking it to elaborate on the cause and effect practice and also the timeline challenge. And then so it says, perfect. Let me search the public library to see if there's any existing activities that focus on these skills, which is great. Yeah, and it's giving me the names here so that I can more easily search it. But yeah, or it says like, you know, I could create an activity like this. So with the 2 options for those activities. So I'm actually going to ask it like, can you make documents with all the settings so I can move them into an activity? And then it should be able to create the document for each of those that has basically all of the settings written out. So then from there, I can like copy that, or I can download that document. And then once I upload that directly into an activity, then it will create the whole activity for me. And all of the background, like I don't have to put all of this background back into Flint and like remake that in a way. Yeah, okay. I think there's some questions in the chat. Okay. And then, okay, so Laura's asking, is it possible for students to input a hand-drawn graph like they would do on the exam and have Flint grade it according to the IB mark scheme? Yes, yeah, for sure. So either students can draw it in Flint using the whiteboard tool, which is located in this plus here under whiteboard. So here, like students can draw if they have an iPad, or if they're not on an iPad and like drawing on the laptop is kind of weird, they can take a picture of what it is that they've created. So I think right now it's disabled because I'm also on a video call, but we've seen students like hold their work up to the camera and then take a picture and send that to Flint, and Flint's able to give them feedback on their work there. Yeah, so for sure, they could definitely do that, and as long as you're, of course, like giving it that additional guidance to use the IB mark scheme. Can we ask Flint to only accept hand-drawn but not copy and pasted graph? Oh, I don't think we have the controls to like limit what it is that the students are sending from. But if you create an activity, you could tell your students like, hey, I only want you to hand draw your graphs, and then just let them know that like you can see every single session that they're having, and that like if they pay something in, you'll see it, and you will need to have a conversation with them about that. Yeah. They're saying some students will use other programs and input the equation and then input that into Flint. Yeah, I would, yeah, again, just like tell students like, hey, this is like not okay, and like we can see everything that you're doing. So, if you do that, we will know. And then I think also something that you could do is like break down the graph more. So you could have students like maybe label one aspect of it first, and then they have to label another aspect of it, and like just make it so that it's very clear if they're using like different tools that will automatically generate 100% of it. Yeah, and then you can like make sure that students are actually writing it in the platform itself. Yeah. Jatender is saying one big question is academic honesty. Check on Flint how it can be done if they're at home. Yeah, it is a very difficult topic to tackle. Like, how do we ensure that students are being like authentic in their work? And I think like unfortunately there's just like so many different loopholes that students can find, whether it's like, still using outside tools, but then just drawing it themselves, or like what it might be. So yeah, I feel like I've seen teachers tackle this in a variety of different ways. Some of them are making it like more optional. This is like additional practice. And then anything that is like required, you can do in class so that you can like kind of monitor them. But I think also like if you create activities that are like truly helping the students, and like show them like how it is that their practice can like get them a better grade, or like get them to understand something better. Yeah, hopefully AI is like offering just enough support so that students are like willing to give it a shot, but not like fully just wanting to cheat with it. Yeah, I think we could have like a whole session about that. So I might move on for now, but if we have time at the end, we definitely can discuss this more. But yeah, just to wrap this part up. So, I went through this whole chat with the student, or from the student perspective. This whole chat from the student perspective, and then it created these documents. I can always even just like copy the information from this document, go back to my home page, create a custom activity, and then paste all that in, or paste it in a document if that will make it look better. But either way, Flint should be able to understand it. And then from there, automatically it can create an activity for me. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, there we go. So this is just like a great way to, both from the teacher perspective of like if you're using chats a lot to like be a brainstorming partner, or like to help you kind of organize your thoughts, you can just ask it at any point to create settings for an activity, and then copy and paste that into an activity to move it. We might make this like a more direct connection soon, but yeah, this might also be something that you can show your students and encourage them to build their own activities as well. Okay. So with that, I have this section and this time for people to share what they've been doing, and like for you all to hear from the other wonderful heads in the room. So yeah, I think the person that I asked maybe couldn't make it anymore, but there is one person that I met actually this past week with or at the conference here in Jakarta, who said that, oh yeah, I heard this anecdote from a administrator that I met at the conference a couple days ago, who was saying that, you know, their Spanish teacher wanted to have students do more than just the regular practice. They had done like a lot of the oral practice and a lot of the like question answer sort of situation. So what they did was they had one student interview another student in Spanish, and then build an activity for that fellow student of theirs, also in Spanish, because you can build activities in other languages as well. And then gave it to the student that they built that activity for. That student used the activity in Spanish and then also gave feedback to the student who built it in Spanish. So there were a lot of different points in that conversation where, you know, the students were practicing, they were still interacting with each other, they were learning how to use AI as well. So I just thought that was like a really cool example of how someone was using Flint to, you know, prep for additional sorts of examinations and time. Yeah, Sanjeev?
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, my son is in Germany
Mm.
and he has done the graduation, but now he is learning the German language. So, is there any AI tool that he can talk in German and the AI replies to him in German and tells him where you are wrong or how you can improve? Like we are talking to a person. Suppose I
Yeah,
want Chinese, the best way is to talk to somebody in Chinese who knows it more than me, and then you get the feedback. Is that possible, or somebody has tried something like that?
yeah. That's exactly what Flint can do. And that's why like the world language teachers really like Flint. You can set it up as a conversation on any specific topic or just have it be like a general like conversation partner. And like your son could set the topic with every new session that has with it. But yeah, for sure, you can do that. Um, Yeah, and then we have one question in the chat here. To what extent can teachers customize instructions or guidelines for Sparky override the teaching or questioning style? For example, if I wanted to move away from Socratic seminar style learning that usually ends in a question towards a lecture style or something else, would it override it coming from a teacher's account? Do you mean for like activities that students create, Nick?
Hi. I'm thinking more for like a teacher style activity. Right. The Socratic style is obviously good in a lot of instances, but there might be, lots of other sorts of styles. And I know, right, the students can't, say, oh, well, give me the answer, right? But like, does the teacher have a little more fine-grained control, like if we're putting in the custom instructions, and to like obviously there are like high-level instructions like about safety and such, but like is it, I'm just trying to feel out sort of how the prompting is working so I can sort of fine tune it myself.
I see. So are you asking like how between like the like overarching workspace settings and then the activities, like how would they interact?
Yeah. And to what extent like the activities can be like, okay, I don't want a Socratic method or something else, right? Like how much freedom is there for a teacher to sort of, you know,
Yeah.
to what extent? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you can basically tell it as plainly as you told it here, like, hey, don't use the Socratic style anymore, actually use this other style. And I think that's actually best for Flint too, when you're like specifying like what it is that you want. It's like persona to be almost. So like, hey, you can tell Flint like, oh, I want you to be a Socratic style like question asker, or I want you to be like a lecturer, or I want you to be like a tutor, and that actually helps with the behavior a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of ability to fine tune that. Yeah, and it would be on a like per activity basis. Yeah. And then Jatender, I think you had your hand raised, but then you put it down. I don't know if you had like another question.
Yeah. So basically, follow up with Mr. Sanjeev's question here. What he meant was a conversation like AI, speaking, not writing. Is it possible there? The
Yes.
speaking part.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I think I tried to show it in one of the examples earlier today, but maybe it wasn't super clear because I didn't demonstrate it. But yeah, you can create an activity that's just speaking. Oh, I think actually this example is here. Okay, well, this one has like the text here, but then the students can always speak their message to Sparky. And then in your settings, you can tell it like, hey, I want you to be a speaking and listening only activity where like the students have to listen to Flint and there's like no text. And then the students can also only reply with speaking. Like this text box would be disabled. Let me see if I can find the him. One sec. Just need to sign out again. Okay, let me go back to this part. Yeah, so in my activities here, for this like interpersonal speaking practice one that I created earlier, yeah, when I start a session here, it's going to speak to me only. I'll just pause that so it doesn't speak aloud. And then here, you can see like the text the ability to type has been disabled and I can only speak my messages aloud to Sparky. Yeah. Okay, Rachel is saying for physics, I really struggle with the AI being able to correctly calculate values. She's even put in the instruction to check for hallucination and calculate values carefully, but still many incorrect answers. Yeah, and worried about students getting wrong information. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, actually, could you share with me the example test that you did? Because there are some things that we added to Flint pretty recently that might have made this better. So if you were testing it like a while back, we've like edited the model. There's like a degradation in one of the models that the company didn't tell anyone about, of course. So then we saw like a lot more issues with Flint, but we updated the model. So this might be doing better, but I can also take a look at your prompting and see if there's anything that can help as well. So yeah, if you want to send it to me, I'll like put my email in chat here. And then even if I don't have time to look at it, I can connect you with the right person on our team who might have time. Yeah, thanks for sharing that because we definitely want to make sure that Flint is as accurate as possible. Yeah, does anyone else have any examples that they want to share about how they've been using Flint for?
I just shared a prompt for the vocabulary coach. Maybe it's not learning, speaking and listening, but it's just text based. So in the chat. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it might help. So.
Awesome, thanks, Geeta. How did you use this with your students?
Because it's a case study, it's boring actually for me or for them to learn. So I put the Flint in my as a personal tutor for them. And if you look at the prompt, you can see that it just trains them with only 10 words, and then it just going very clearly about what to do, how to go about it. So did I put the right one? So let me see. I just want to make sure that I copied and pasted the right one. Yeah. So if you read through this, give specific instructions, feedback. 1 second. Sorry, just guiding questions rather than just giving answer. Use examples from the case study. So key role, do not present multiple terms at once and move forward until mastery is demonstrated. So the kind of being specific about my prompt, and so it's just I feel it is just the prompting and the iteration that we need to do again and again. So everything comes back to that. and learning and speaking and learning is there. It is fantastic. I've never tested because I'm an IPEB computer science teacher, so I really didn't know to do that. It's all paper writing, so I focus on more on writing. So
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks for sharing that.
welcome.
Yeah. Seems like the group has thinned out a little bit, but if anyone else wants to share, feel free to. Let me just pull up my slides again. Okay. Yeah. Last call. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions for Geeta?
And
All right.
I think everybody knows about the analytics it gives at the end of it, the teacher analytics, the strengths and weaknesses of the classroom and your teaching, which is really greatly helpful to me all the time because I go there and see. Also help create a follow-up activity because there is create a follow-up activity for the weaknesses the students need to use. That feature also I use a lot.
Yeah. Thanks, Geeta, for sure. Those. Yeah. Maybe I should have saved some time to walk through those, but for context, anyone, like once your students start using an activity more, those will pop up automatically in the overview page.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, awesome. I'll go ahead and like wrap up the session since we don't have too much time here. But yeah, here are some of the next upcoming sessions. The times for these have not actually been set yet, but once I set them, anyone who is like subscribed to our newsletter will be able to see once those are scheduled. And it will be sometime during the week of this date and not necessarily on that specific date as well. Yeah, and all recordings will be posted on our website. Anyone here will get the recording directly in their inbox, and anyone who registered as well. I know a lot of people tend to be watching the recordings rather than coming to the session since it's like only at one set time. So yeah, that is a part of that. And then finally, we have new office hours that are being conducted by our customer success team. So if there's any like specific things that you have questions about or want help with, there are some times that the office hours are available, and here's the link to the meeting for that. And I always like to pitch our Instagram and Flint community. These are some of the more teacher-facing platforms that Flint is trying to build. So on our Instagram, that's like where we'll be posting more like teaching tips and sometimes memes, also news about Flint, everything that's relevant to teachers, whereas like some of our other social media is more admin focused. And then for the Flint community, this is where we're trying to collect a bunch of people who are using Flint and make it so that everyone can ask each other questions. It's more like a forum and like a community group rather than like something as direct and prescribed from our team. So hopefully that's also helpful to people who want to crowdsource some ideas. But yeah. Thank you, Geeta. Yeah, there's a lot going on all of the time, but I'm really grateful for these sessions and glad that they're helpful to everyone as well. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for joining, and maybe I'll see you at another one.
Thank you very much, as usual. This one was a great session too, so thank you.
Thank you, Geeta.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.